I'm coming with a complete different talk today. It's about diaper brickwork. Diaper brickwork as a term. It's used. It's known as here in England, but it's generally known as decoration. My item isn't it sometimes more than decoration? And why doesn't he listen to mine? Okay. When you think of a definition, I looked at Encyclopedia Britannica, saying that in Victorian England, bricks of different colors were being used to form bold patterns, like pieces of polychrome cross stitchwork. Aidan Whelan talked of the Flemish influence, and he said this constructional polychromy passed from fashion in the late Renaissance period before returning to popularity in the mid-9th century. I think that's all correct, only there is more than that. So I'll give you guys a speed course in brick symbols, and second, an overview of some apotropaic diaper patterning in England. Okay, start with brick making and colored headers. Quickly, shortly said, the brick makers use molds where they put the clay in to give form to the bricks. The bricks are piled up and under shelters to get dry enough. They're piled up around a heating source, wood, coal, peat. All this is covered up by another material. The fire works for several days above 1,000 degrees. And the bricks that are closest to the fire are scorched. They are overheated in the baking process. And what happens is that the differently colored headers are used to make masonry signs. When the clay is such that the bricks become red, those scorched headers are black from color. When the bricks are yellow, the scorched headers are purple reds. When salty peat is used for combustion, they become green. And when a bit of lead is added, they become blue and even glazed. Okay, my approach and something about multifunctionality. What did I do? I gathered 3,800 brick buildings all over Western Europe. Of all these buildings, I try to set a date on them, a location, because in time, the evolution is quite important. Who took initiative to place these symbols and walls? I'm convinced that what I'm looking at are these symbols that are placed by initiative of the mason. The moment the client gets more and more involved, the way the symbols come out changes. I give the example of Muxloe Castle. You see the tower here at the right. You see the tower. These are classic patterns. There is a straight cross. There is a calvary. There is a magic knot. I'll talk about that in a minute. But when you look at the entrance of the castle, William, Lord of Hastings, was a client, had his initials in the porch. You're saying William Hastings. His escutcheon, his shield with a sleeve is made in brick. You see a ship and a flag standard, all things that are related to the clients. So that's a bit different story. Appearance, all these symbols come as a creative interpretation with local differences. Great question is a bit the why. It's always the question for graffiti, but here it's a bit more, the reasons are quite less. In my vision, they are or of apotropaic or decorative or both of them. In a lecture, you find some other reasons, but you can quite easily prove that these other items are wrong. You can't hold them straight. Of course, they become part of a custom and a tradition. And okay, just saying, I show you a clock and a church bell. in the Grasmeyer Museum in Innsbruck, just showing that, yeah, as my signs can be multifunctional, can be decorative and apotropaic. Yeah, here you see, right, here is marked Laudo Deum Vero, Pestum Fugo, Fulmina Frango, meaning I praise the true God, I chase the plague, I break lightning. So they are apotropaic beneath other purposes. Okay, my approach, there are very limited documents. So you need to trace the intentions of the one who places them, but that's quite a difficult, yeah. You need to look at location, chosen symbol, time period. You need to read the building if there are no papers. That's not that easy. Okay, I'll start with the vocabulary of the Flemish Masons. Why? Because the Flemish Masons were the first one who helped or built the first brick buildings here in Britain. So, okay, what was their vocabulary? You need to see that or to know that, yeah. And the symbols that are used are particularly suitable for protective use. The first one are calvaries. There are different types of crosses on wood, like mountain calvary. When you look at the lowlands, let's say the Dutch provinces, there are 25 and 27, 1/3 of the buildings, you find these crosses. Crosses are, of course, often used as a protection. The painting of Vincent van Gogh. There's another painting where you see these are made with chalk, but it's the same idea, protecting your house with a cross. In England, it's also known in the 12th century. You see here, even in this brick form of cross. These are forms of diamonds. I'm convinced it's a bit the same family, just clear diamonds and diamonds with the edges prolonged, or vertically or horizontally, or a diamond combined with an X mark. Why a diamond as a protective item? I think the most common explanation is that this is a reference to the female vulva. There are examples enough in statues and things you find in buildings. And this has all to do with fertility. Fertility, children, harvest crops. Certainly in the Catholic tradition, churches, cloisters, abbey are also, they show the way to salvation. Yeah. Fertility is very important, and that important issue for people, for our ancestors, that the relationship with protection is quite obvious. Thinking further about that, these are all examples of the neighborhoods where I live. You see, all different, it's easy, it's not that easy to find two identical symbols, but you see all the calvaries with different types of crosses, referring to Jesus, of course, protective. But there's also a series with diamonds calvaries, where we got a diamond on top of the calvary. So if you think that the diamonds is a form of fertility, the highest form of fertility is the Immaculate Conception of Mother Mary. So it's possible that in some of these cases, if this refers to Jesus, why shouldn't these refer to Mother Mary? If you want to protect them, how do you make a representation of Mother Mary? Yeah, why not? The next mark is well known as protective symbol. It's a very old pagan symbol, but it's Christianized by Saint Andrew, but with the same protective items. You see a painting of Hendrik Averkamp, and when you look at that building, you see beside the door an X mark for protection. Patterns. The next one, that's the most difficult one. I haven't got much time, so I just give a few details looking at patterns. These are apotropaic symbols in Tattersall Castle. These are not decorative. They have different sizes. They are on different places. On the back side, you see one here, you see one there, but there's also one pattern. And why should this pattern have an other purpose than all the other symbols? I just put a question, but if you think that this is purely decorational, why putting this on a back facade and not in the front on a place where everybody passes, where you say, well, I want to make an accent that is beautiful and nice. Now it's on the back side. Look at Heskin Hall. Yeah, if you look at this, you've got an entrance here. How do you think the client reacts on a pattern like that? Is that decoration? If either people have to pass there, it's quite strange. It's something more, something other than decorational. This is an old Warden barn. Yes, and it's the same question for a barn. What is important in a barn? The decoration. No, I think that the protection of what's inside the barn is way more important than the outside. Yeah. And okay, here we have even a pattern in two colors. There's a second pattern. But if it had been pure decorational, why not around the entrance? Why not? Why separated in two facades? This is the classical pattern that's called here in England, the diaper patterning. Yeah, this is decorational without any doubt. Okay, that were my basic signs. In the vocabulary from after 1500, you find hearts, different figures of hearts, and magic knots. Okay, hearts, different forms of hearts. Why a heart? You can see in lots of representations a reference to the Holy Heart of Jesus. Yeah, okay. It's if you want a heart to be a symbol of protection of your building, yeah, it's logical thinking about Jesus. But here in England, said no, it's not the heart of Jesus. It's the heart, the Holy Heart of Mother Mary. Yeah, of course. And depending on the location or the time or the situation, it could be one of them both. I can't go and ask to the mason, what's your opinion? Who did you choose? But okay, if you look at this, yeah, it could be the dagger or the sword that goes through the heart of Mary or Jesus. Yeah, could both. The last category I show you are the magic knots. Magic knots are figures that are known to be apotropaic. They are drawn in one line without having your pencil from the paper. There are more complex forms, but there are also these smaller forms that if the Catholic Church is going to say, yeah, but these pagan symbols, we don't want them, you can say is a cross, a normal cross or a tau cross formed with diamonds. Yeah, you can see them as crosses. Okay, so at so many buildings, I made an analysis. How do you make an analysis? I made five categories. 5 categories. It's difficult. This is not mathematical, but it can give you an idea how things work. So first category are the individual symbols. The third one are old or small patterns. The second one are the mix of both symbols and patterns. I have a fifth category that are clearly the purely decorative ones, or large and younger patterns. These are for me the more apotropaic, and I've got a doubt category between where I say I don't know. Okay, when I do this exercise in Belgium with my 5 categories on 700 buildings, you see that the blue ones are the individuals. You see that there are quite a lot of individuals, even until the 19th century, and the decorative ones, yeah, there are very few. Just in the 19th and the 20th century, they become popular. If I do the same exercise here in England, what do I get? I get this. You got all decorative ones, but in the 19th century, I found, let's say 800 buildings. And indeed, this constructional polychromy, people love the diapers. That's clear in England. What interests me is what here at the bottom, and indeed, it's perhaps a call for all of you, if you come and see somewhere some new patterns or some new symbols in masonry that are not known to me. I'm convinced that there are many more. These are quite easy to find if you go through the texts and the building description of the listed buildings. They are very well talked in some counties more than in other, but okay, these are quite easy to find. These are in a lot of examples are not mentioned in the descriptions. So when I leave my fifth category, that is the decorational ones, you see complete, you see better the pattern. What you see that they are quite popular in the 15th and the 16th century, but because of Reformation, Henry VIII, schism, there was a reaction against great religious items. So they fall down, and there are quite less of these buildings, but they continue even till the 20th century, and smaller buildings, agrarian areas on all facades. When you look in Belgium, after the 15th century, all these items appear in facades you can see from the street. So the mason shows to the streets, I'm doing my part in the battle against evil spirits. You can see it in England. Yeah, perhaps that they want the authority not to see what they're doing, and they place them sometimes on the back facade. So, okay, first part, I give you a chronicle reading of some brick buildings, where my question is is not whether are they apotropaic or not, but rather where did people forget the apotropaic aim? Okay, this is one of the first brick buildings, Sommery's Castle. You see here the main entrance. It's a ruin, but there above the entrance, you see a clearly symbol, for me, without doubt, apotropaic, with some decorative item of level 2. This is Dorney Court, also a very old building. So if I show you the building like this, you don't see it, but you have to look at the chimneys, and there are 2 clear crosses, a normal cross and tau cross, but perhaps here the top is lost when building or adapting these niches. When you go to Herstmonceux Castle, you see at the entrance X marks, you see diamonds, you see a diamond on foot, and on the buttresses of the chapel, you see X marks, apotropaic in my vision, without much doubt. Once again, Tattersall Castle, I'm still in the 15th century. You see here a double V upside down, or an M. That's a symbol that's only found in Britain. That's a British adaptation. You don't find this symbol on the continent. It's just here in Britain. Another example, Bartley, you see the diamond cross above the entrance. A nice one is Netherhall in Royden, where you see the clear calvaries. You even see the same Mary symbol, separate diamonds and some patterns, mainly apotropaic, I'm sure of them. Here you see Buckingham Palace. Yeah, you got a combination of patterns and some separate symbols, a calvary and a cross with triangles. At the back side of the gate, you've got the same, also the same cross and calvary in combination with the greater pattern. British love beautiful patterns. Okay, you see the Bugden Towers with some calvaries again. This is a nice one. Friday Church. You see on the church, I'll say the diamond calvary, and it's the Church of Saint Mary the Virgin. So why not? This is a nice one. If you ever go to York, yeah, perhaps the heating is broken, but it's not because of evil spirits, because the chimney is protected by X marks. You see them. Then on the other side, you see a diamond. The building is protected. Yeah, okay. It certainly is a mechanical problem. I'm sure it is. East Horndon, you see two calvaries. This is not decoration. This is not decoration. Why placing an Augsburg Hall? Why one diamond? It's an accent of the mason who wants to protect his own work. Old Palace School. This is not decoration. This is a nice one, since it's a bit known. You see at the porch 3 X marks, 2 calvaries, the double V. And yeah, the English like to fill up the rest of the space with something, so some extra lines. But of course, the apotropaic. Great Bradley, St. Mary's Church with the diamonds, and the barn at the other side of the cemetery, also diamonds. These are apotropaic. Yeah. Hampton Court. In Hampton Court, you find the whole history of. It's built in different stadia, so you find all kind of symbols. But when you look there, you had a diamond XXX, diamond X. So it's a bit irregular. You got a double X one. You even got a calvary. So you find them from apotropaic to very decorational items. Go a bit further. In Charterhouse in London, you see Jesus Hominem Salvator, reference to the name of Jesus, a tau cross on a foot, a straight cross, another one, a heart and a diamond form. On the back of a building in Ruislip, you see this nice calvary. If it's purely decorational, it could be better made. You see, this is not quite symmetrically. Well, okay. In Pelden, you see that there are crosses in the stone tower, but there's a nice one here. You see a calvary with a great foot and a diamond on top. Once again, St. Mary's Church. A nice one with hearts and diamonds, great buzzard. I'm already in the 17th century with a farmhouse with two diamonds. Here you got the patterns, the decorative patterns in the front, but one pattern in the side. 17 new in farm. If this was purely decorational, they would be at the same height or more visible. No, I'm sure they were meant to be apotropaic. This one is known also. Mother Mary is all a bit clearer. In St. Benet's Abbey, this abbey is quite old, but in the second half of the 18th century, a mill was built, and there on top of the entrance is, you have to look a bit good, but there is an extra diamond. In Lincoln, yeah, okay, that'll be much doubtful. There are X marks, there are some diamonds, but I think it's more decorational. 1850 already. A bit doubt, but in my eyes, when I see the manor form, 1855, you've got straight crosses in the main gables and in the barn. These are apotropaic. This is not decorative. In Flint, you find some symbols too, the Marian mark, the Tau cross, some hearts. I give the example here for a barn where you see the symbols in flint in the barn. And my last one, this is purely decorational, 20th century, of course. But when you see the last house of the row, you see separate X marks in the front and a calvary in the side. Yeah, we should look up who was the mason. We should go and ask him what he was meant to do. I don't know, but he certainly knew the tradition. He certainly knew what he was doing, and putting such a cross in a gable gives the idea of some apotropaic issue. That was my presentation. When did people forget the protective aim? The answer will be different in time and in place, but that's a big question.